Hello and welcome to this primary election debate for Republican candidates for Arizona's Congressional District 1, representing parts of Scottsdale and Phoenix, Cave Creek, Carefree, Paradise Valley, and Fountain Hills. This debate is sponsored by Clean Elections, the state's nonpartisan voter education agency. My name is Steve Goldstein.
And I'm Danielle Lerner, and we will be co-moderating tonight's debate. And we are sharing this debate as part of an effort to support democracy in Arizona through a partnership with the Citizens Clean Elections Commission, the Arizona Media Association, and Restir. It is a partnership designed to make these debates accessible to all voters in Arizona. And
that means this debate and dozens more between now and November will air on a long list of local TV stations, radio stations, and digital platforms, including support from local newspapers. It's a shared effort between hundreds of local media brands across Arizona. Now, the format of this debate may be familiar to you, and we've tried to keep the rules simple. Each candidate will have up to 1 minute to make an opening statement, and the same for a closing statement. Candidates have drawn straws to determine the order of each of those portions of this debate, and throughout the debate, we'll pose questions to each candidate, allow them to answer, and then make sure the other candidates have a chance to respond.
Now, whenever a question is directed to a specific candidate, only that candidate's microphone will be open. At all other times, every microphone will be open. And thank you to voters across Arizona who've submitted questions for this debate. We have reviewed all of them to make sure every voice is heard. However, no candidates have been given advanced access to any of these questions. Now, additionally, candidates for this race will take part in a speed round at the end of tonight's conversation. Those questions have been given to candidates ahead of time, and they have just 15 seconds to answer each one.
And with that, let's introduce the Republican primary candidates for this debate: Joseph Chaplik, Thomas J. Feely IV, and John Trobough. Joseph Chaplik, you have the first opening statement. You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. I'm Representative Joseph Chaplik. For the last 6 years, I've represented you at the State House as your representative in this district. I'm going to give you 3 things to know. 1, trust and truthfulness. I have over 100 endorsements in this area, in this state. Elected, formerly elected, grassroots leaders, our sheriff, Jerry Sheridan, our county recorder, Justin Heap. 2, policy experience and results. I've served on committees. I've been the chairman of committees, vice chairman of committees, members of committees in 6 of the longest years of Arizona's history of the legislature. And because of that, I can hit the ground running in D.C. with that experience. I've helped get 2.5% flat tax that I sponsored for you. I helped get school choice, which is leading the nation. I helped get the masks off you and your children in school. And third, this district, where I've lived for 17 years, where I've worked, paid taxes, voted, just like our founding fathers wanted. Real representation in the community you live in. Thank you, and God bless you.
John Trobough, you have 1 minute.
Yes, well, thank you. First off, thank you, Mr. Chaplik. Thank you, Mr. Feely. It's an honor to share the stage with some fellow Republicans. My name is John Trobough, and I, too, am running for this congressional seat. And I stand before my fellow Arizonans tonight to share with you that I am an example of, through hard work, the American dream is still attainable. I left home at 16, finished high school on my own, finished college on my own, ultimately leading me to a tech career in Silicon Valley, where I spent 20-plus years as a tech CEO, culminating as the CEO of a Boeing subsidiary working in advanced software in the defense industry. After that time, I was honored for Boeing to sponsor me to go back to Stanford and the Graduate School of Business. Upon finishing my education, I was selected as one of the first 100 presidential White House fellows to serve this nation, focused on how it is we modernize our government and the issues of China and the threat of China to national security and our economy. I've gotten into this race for one reason and one reason only. Washington is failing our families, and I refuse to leave this country knowing that I didn't do all I could for my children and yours.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Feely, you have 1 minute for an opening statement.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to be before the voters of Arizona. You may remember me from playing in the NFL, playing for the Cardinals, or broadcasting for CBS, doing Super Bowls. But I decided to leave broadcasting to run for Congress. And I think we need more people in office who truly want to be that civil servant, who don't need this job, who aren't going there as a career, are going there to represent you, and willing to stand up for the things that we believe in as conservatives. You know, President Trump and I have been friends for almost 2 decades, and he asked me to run in this seat. He endorsed my campaign because he knows that I will be the one that will fight for him, that will be unafraid, that will stand up. and make sure that we represent this state in D.C. the right way and fight for the ideals that we believe in. You know, when you look at what we're really fighting against, though, we're not fighting against each other up here. We're fighting against the Democrat Party. And last night, the Democrat Party fully embraced socialism. That is what we were fighting against. They ran on platforms like erasing the American empire and eradicating Western civilization, things that we don't believe in. And that is why I'm going to Congress, to fight for the things that this state and conservatives truly believe in.
All right, thank you, Mr. Feely. Let's start right off the bat by acknowledging that this district is one of the most competitive in the country. There are national implications here as far as who could retain control of Congress. And so, Mr. Feely, I'll start with you. You talked about President Trump asking you to run in this district. You were originally going to run in District 5. You live in Gilbert. And so my question to you is, how do you convince the residents of this district that you truly have their best interests in mind?
Yeah, I think everything that my wife and I have done in our lives has been, how do I utilize the blessings that God has given me to help others, to impact others, to effectuate change? That's why I wanted to get into the political arena. You know, when I sat on with President Trump 4 years ago, he and Jim Jordan asked me to run. You know, and when he was shot, that was the moment that I said, okay, Jay, what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? You know, he knows that over the last decade, when he's asked me to do something, I've been there and I've done it and I've sacrificed. You know, it was always a negative implication when you're in broadcasting, when you're standing up for a conservative president like President Trump. But I was willing to do that because I believe in this country. I believe in the future. And this district in particular, you know, it cares about the economy. And it needs somebody who's going to fight to make sure that we are growing the economy for everybody, creating jobs, bringing companies here, creating an environment where our kids and our grandkids can be a success. That's what I'm committed to. You know, I sit on the board of 2 private companies. I have helped start a couple other companies, one here in Arizona. And one of the boards I sit on is here in Scottsdale, in this district. You know, and my wife and I actually just bought property. We closed on property we're going to build in this district because I know how important that is. And I'm committed to making sure that I represent the people of this district. They can look back and see what I've done in the 16 years that I've lived here, the impact that I've tried to have across the valley and really across the country, trying to utilize the platform that football first gave me and then broadcasting to truly help others, get involved with groups like House of Refuge. During COVID, my son and I went out to local businesses in Scottsdale, bought meals from them, and then brought them to local hospitals, to our doctors and our nurses and our first responders, just to thank them for what they were doing. Those are projects that we've been involved in because we care about this committee, this community, the entire time that we've lived here.
Mr. Trobough, 2-minute question for you. Let's talk political philosophy. You are describing yourself as a Ronald Reagan conservative. What does that mean these days? How would you define that, and how would that help people in the 1st District?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the question. So the way I define being a Ronald Reagan conservative is to say that I am a free markets conservative. I believe in supply-side economics, and that is the foundation of who the Republican Party is. I understand this. I have been working this my entire career. I understand supply-side economics. I understand how it is we need to do job creation. I'm the one candidate on this stage who has the experience in the global economy, understanding artificial intelligence and the growth that it means to our nation and the growth and opportunity it means to Arizona. I understand fiscal conservatism, I understand our debt challenges, and I intend to go to Washington to fight for the citizens of Arizona and to get this debt issue under control for all of us as a nation.
All right, and Mr. Chaplik, a question for you. You are the only one here with experience as an elected representative. And so my question for you is, how do you convince independent and moderate voters that, you know, an outsider is not the right choice?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I've served 6 years in the State House, and if you remember my first election, I actually had to compete in the general against a Democrat when this was Legislative District 23. So I have the experience. I've been battle-tested, I've been outspent, and I've actually served this state well for 6 years with a flawless voting record. And you can ask about those bills that I've sponsored. They were good for all Arizona, not just the Republican Party. They weren't just bills that I ran for the Republican Party. These are bills that were good for everybody. 2.5% flat tax, the school choice, LLCs, if you own a business, we were able to add back the SALT deduction back through to pass through. So we've helped grow businesses across the whole state, as well as if you look at just the securing the border. That's for every person in Arizona. What we've been trying to pass the last 4 years was good for Arizona. And like I said, I've been battle tested. I have a spine. I stand with policy. But again, I've been elected 6 elections, and the independents do come towards me as well. Thank you.
Mr. Feely, let's talk about cost of living and inflation. Major problem during the Biden administration. Trump administration was supposed to fix that. We've seen people connected to the war in Iran that has brought up some prices. Maybe they're going to come back. We don't know. But let's talk about the effect of inflation, especially when President Trump has a phrase that was an exact quote, not giving the entire quote, but it did have a quote that said, he loves the inflation. So how does an average voter in CD1 see that when they're saying, the standard bearer of that party is saying he loves the inflation? How do you deal with that?
Well, that certainly was out of context, but I'm glad you brought up the Biden administration, because whenever we talk about affordability right now, and that's what Democrats are trying to run on, affordability, it's completely hypocritical, because the policies that they implemented over 4 years are what has caused this affordability crisis. When you look at just the Fed just the other day, they had a survey that came out, and they said 30% of the cost of homes, of buying a home, is because of illegals, and 20% of the rent prices are because of illegals. When they willingly allowed tens of millions of illegals to come across the border, and then they changed the verbiage and said that they were lawfully present, which now changed and allowed them, unlike the Clinton law in 1996 that forbid illegals from being on Medicaid and on SNAP, lawfully present then changed it and allowed them to be on Medicaid and on SNAP. And because they changed the law and said you're not going to remain in Mexico anymore, now you're allowed to come here and wait for your case to be adjudicated. 5 to 7 years on average it takes. Now those people are here, and they're buying homes, and they're renting homes, and they're driving up the cost. They're on SNAP and driving up the cost of groceries. And so we have to be honest. Inflation was up to 9.5%. Now our job is to govern, and our job is to do a better job in understanding how do we do that? How do we bring and get rid of or help affordability? Number one, you have to have real wage growth. Number two, you got to get rid of regulation, because regulation drives the cost as well. When you look at home ownership, if it takes 3 years on average to build a home, then that interest cost the entire time is going to be passed down to the consumer. So if you get rid of those regulations, you allow more homes to be built, allow more opportunity for people to go and buy a home. Right now, I have a 23-year-old son, and if he's going to go, he's married, if he's going to go buy a house, the average home price here in Arizona is $450,000. How does a guy who's starting out his family, how do you go and afford to buy a home? And we have to help them and create it. And I was really proud to see the bipartisan bill that was just passed, the housing bill. I think that's taking on some of those things and going to really help in the affordability crisis.
I want to talk about that bill in just one moment, but I want to make sure we give the other candidates a chance to comment on inflation, since that is top of mind for so many voters on all sides of the political spectrum. Mr. Chaplik, are there certain federal policies that you would champion in order to try to bring the cost of living down for voters?
First of all, the inflation has skyrocketed in those 4 years of the Biden administration. And it takes time to bring the inflation down. It just does, through competition, fair market competition. And we need to continue to drive that. But, there's other things that we can do. We can cut the red tape. We can cut the regulation. We can cut a lot of the bloated government that's actually weighing down the systems. Furthermore, for the housing affordability, we can help with some tax cuts, by eliminating some of the bloated government, because we're paying too much taxes. We're $2 trillion in debt every budget in the federal government. And if we can cut that deficit down, we don't have as much taxes, because that's more in your pocket. So when we can start saving more money, we tried to pass the gas tax exemption to limit that temporarily during the high gas prices here in the state. That didn't get signed. We tried to get rid of the grocery tax temporarily to make it more affordable for people. That didn't get signed. So we've had a lot of options that we've been doing here in the state that just wasn't getting signed by our governor. But, at the federal level, again, we can champion a lot of things, but to get that real inflation down, I follow President Trump's agenda. I think he's doing the right thing, but it does take time with competition. And we're going to drive those prices down through, the competition free market system.
Okay. And Mr. Trobough, you talked about your economic background, your financial background. Let's dig in deeply. I'm going to give you 1 minute on this. Talk about inflation and cost of living.
Yeah, inflation. So when Washington spends money that Arizona families don't have, Inflation is a big challenge, and Mr. Feely is correct. You know, the passing of or the increase of cost is due to the immigration issue, as he touched on briefly. He is correct. Mr. Chaplik is correct as well, that we need to have more supply-side discipline in how it is we address the inflation issue. At the end of the day, this country has a massive debt problem. We are spending money we don't have. We turn around as Republicans and we cut taxes, but then we turn around and we don't reduce our spending. We do not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. We need to get our spending in line with the services that we want to offer to the citizens if we want to save this country and if we're going to really address the inflation problem. Housing is not going to come down until we start to address the debt so we can start to sell treasuries at a rate that makes mortgage rates come back down.
Housing affordability mentioned by all of you at some point up here. That bipartisan bill that you mentioned, Mr. Feely, President Trump today deciding not to sign it until Congress will sign the Save America Act. And so my question on that is, what are your thoughts on that style of leadership? We'll start with you, Mr. Feely.
Well, I think President Trump certainly has a unique style of leadership, and we've seen it for the last, over a decade. And, he tries to utilize leverage every way that he can. He does it with Congress. He does it overseas with foreign leaders. And I'd just like to say, when you look at, I was watching the debate for the Democrats, and all of them came on here and said, what we want to do, first thing, we want to repeal the tax cut. We want to get rid of the one big, beautiful bill. And when you talk about affordability, what will be the net effect if they do that? Well, it's going to be one of the largest tax increases on taxpayers that we've ever had. $2,500 per person for each Arizona. You're going to get rid of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That is not going to help to create a better environment economically for the people of Arizona, and certainly the people who need that the most. The people who struggle the most when you have inflation and who it hurts the most are those that have the least, because inflation impacts, they have to spend those dollars on their average everyday goods. That's why it's so important to drive inflation down. We need inflation under 3%. We need GDP over 5%. The only way we can deal with the $40 trillion in debt that we have, growing at $1 trillion every 100 days, is to make sure that we have inflation under 3% and GDP over 5% and grow our way out of it.
Mr. Trobough, how do you propose that we bring housing prices down? I know you said you have to rein in spending, and so how do you actually do that?
Yeah, well, first off, I was encouraged to see that the Housing Act was put forward because it gives me hope. It gives me hope for the nation that we still can find bipartisan solutions for how we address this fiscal crisis that we are in, and I think we need to start calling it what it is. It is a fiscal crisis. The reality is that we started to address the supply side of the problem and we stopped throwing money at the demand side. We can't subsidize our way out of this, meaning subsidizing rent. We need to actually lower regulation, and we need to continually take down new forms of housing development, whether it be 3D printing of houses or other forms of housing. But we need to continually push on the debt. Myself, personally, I would have liked to have seen this signed independent of the SAVE Act being held hostage, because it's what's best for Americans, and it symbolizes the opportunity that we still can work together to solve the fiscal problems of this nation.
Mr. Chaplik, how does your experience on the local level here in our state translate to the national level when it comes to housing affordability?
Well, it's very similar because, we have our state legislature that has been trying to keep it more affordable here in the state. If you look at what we're spending on our state budget alone, we've grown revenues $10 billion in 6 years. Unfortunately, we've grown the expenses as well. And so we don't have a revenue problem. We cut taxes 2.5%. We cut corporate tax, and we still brought in $10 billion more in 6 years. We have a spending problem, and the more that we spend, the more trouble we get into because we're growing government, and we don't want to grow government. And so when you look at the housing, we tried to help eliminate the rental tax, and that was signed. We got that through a budget a couple years ago. So anybody living in apartments, they don't have to pay the extra rental tax, which then creates a little bit more affordability. But same thing with the houses. When there's a neighborhood that, like say South Gilbert, was 10 years ago not really a large town, and now Gilbert has grown because you build homes. You get more affordable homes when you're building a new community. People move there, the community grows, and it's the same that Buckeye or Queen Creek. These were 10 years ago, they weren't really large markets, and now they're the fastest growing in Arizona. There's a reason for that. Same with Anthem up north. When you create new neighborhoods, they are affordable, and people can move to them. There's new communities, and you can start growing the city a little bit. And that's the answer with more homes, not apartments.
Mr. Trobough, let's play off of the housing bill being held in escrow, I guess we could put it to some extent, until the SAVE Act is passed. Let's talk about the SAVE Act a bit. There are people who are very excited about certain provisions of it, but there are others who would describe themselves as conservative to some extent, who don't necessarily like the idea of elections being federalized. 1 minute on that, please.
Yeah, look, I'm for the SAVE Act, and maybe because I'm a common sense conservative, at the end of the day, you know, we have to show ID to drive a car. We have to show ID to get to the airport. I don't have an issue with showing ID to vote. I also believe that we should have transparency for both Republicans and Democrats to see our voting, and we need to have chain of custody and control of the ballots. But I do think that this is an act that has 80% support amongst the people, and it needs to be passed, both Democrats and Republicans. If we just proved that we could come together in a bipartisan way to address a crisis in the housing situation, let's do the same with the SAVE Act for the American people.
Mr. Feely, let me follow up a bit on that, though. So there are provisions in the SAVE Act, like I said, extremely popular, including identification. But there are others who are saying, okay, is this because of a created mistrust among elections? And will that trust be recreated if federal officials are in charge as opposed to local officials, considering when we look at polls, people tend to like their local officials more than their federal officials?
Well, I think we have to be honest when we look at our elections. And I think Americans of all parties, independents, Republicans, Democrats, they want to make sure that they have confidence in their elections, that only the people that should be voting, American citizens, are voting. They're only getting one vote, and those votes are counted in a quick manner. Like, I grew up in Florida, and in 2000, my wife and I were in our first home. And, you know, during that election, we thought it was over that first night. And then obviously we all know about the hanging chads and everything that happened and the chaos that ensued. But Florida did a great job of changing that elections. And now they're one of the states that you look at and say, hey, they do it the best. And we should emulate that. But I think if you look at California and what just happened, I don't think that anything necessarily, we haven't been proven that anything illegal happened. But in California, they basically legalized a process where you can go out and ballot harvest. You can get people to sign up and to vote without having to even have an ID or a signature even. They can make a dot on it. We can't have a system where Americans look at an election like what happened in California and in LA at the mayor's race and say, I don't trust it. I don't believe it happened. I think that's what's so important, to make sure that we have a system that all Americans believe and trust.
All right, thank you, Mr. Feely. And Mr. Chaplik, how do you balance election security but also ensuring access for eligible voters?
You know, we just passed we call it the Save Arizona Act. I was a sponsor of that here at the legislature earlier on before I resigned, and it got signed. And what that does is it's a voter ID right here in Arizona. It's going to be on your ballot in November. So the state of Arizona can actually decide if they want to pass voter ID law this November. And that was a bill that we passed, and it's the same as the Save America Act that I fully support in the federal level. So we absolutely have to have voter ID. But more importantly, I think we need to go back to where we used to vote in precinct voting, right? Precinct voting was the method that keeps you in your community. You go to your local school, you vote. There's so many people, 1,000, 1,500. They can tally those results in the evening, and we know the results. But more importantly, when you look at the precinct, we should go back to one-day vote. And if you can't vote on that one day, we should have absentee ballots. Now we have all mail-in ballots, and mail-in ballots I don't believe in. So if you can't make it on election day, then we should be able to have absentee ballots, and you can get it in the mail and you can vote. That's exactly what we did. We used to know the elections every evening. And no longer right now since COVID, and they did the voting centers and this, you know, early voting day and permanent voting list for mail-in ballots. It needs to end.
Mr. Chaplik, very quick follow-up for you, though, because their Center for the Future of Arizona, for example, nonpartisan group, did polling in the state, found that mail-in voting among Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, very popular. So how would you deal with perhaps a backlash when people say, wait a second, we've been doing this in Arizona for a while and we like it? Yeah,
I think we're abusing the mail-in ballot with the permanent voting list. People move around in this county all the time. I wrote language and sponsored a bill that said if you move, the DMV needs to contact other states. So if someone moved from Arizona to Colorado, Colorado needs to update the records in Arizona. That person moved out. And so we've passed those bills, but you know, it's only as good as being managed. And thank God we have County Recorder Justin Heap in Maricopa County cleaning up the elections. I know he's cleaned up the voter rolls. But once again, I think we're abusing the mail-in vote system. We have an early, you know, vote month, essentially. And then again, the mail-in ballots could be utilized properly, and I think we're abusing it with this permanent early voting list.
Real quick, mail-in voting, certainly a hot topic here locally and across the country. So 30 seconds for each of you. Mr. Feely, your thoughts on mail-in voting?
Well, I look at California again, and they send a ballot to everybody. And if you have an apartment, Joe, you're right, and you've been there, and you get 8 mail-in ballots from the people that came before, and they show up that allows the opportunity for people to do things that they shouldn't do that are legal. And we have to just make sure that we're creating a system where you try to eliminate fraud, where you try to make sure that it's not happening, and you have ramifications, and you hold people accountable if they break the law.
Mr. Trobough, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, we're getting into the weeds on all of this. As I said, I like to be common sense. I like to keep things very simple. Let's just call it what it is. We have an elderly community here in Arizona as well who deserves the right to vote. Addressing the custody chain of control is one way of maintaining control. So I am for doing what's best so that the Arizona citizens can vote.
Mr. Chaplik, let me start with you on this next question. A lot of people have given the Trump administration credit for tighter border security. We've seen fewer immigrants crossing illegally into the United States, but there are people who are concerned across the political spectrum about some of the practices of ICE. So I want to ask you very specifically in this 2-minute answer on this. Would you double down on what is being currently done, or are there certain reforms to ICE you'd support?
You know, I support what President Trump's doing on the border, and I have since he was in office in 2016 to 2020, and now in his current administration. We need to have a closed border. Our southern border, we're a border state. I served with U.S. Marshals and volunteer. I was getting the reports back in the Biden administration of who was crossing our border, how many people were crossing the border, where they were coming from. And it was dangerous people crossing our border. And so absolutely we need to secure the border. Right? That's the first thing. We need to support our Border Patrol. We need technology on the border. Furthermore, we need to make sure that, you know, the people that are crossing illegally, especially the criminals, they need to go back. We cannot take 20 million illegal criminal aliens into this country that have criminal records. And if you've crossed over our border, you're illegal. You already broke the law. So we need to get the immigration under control. I think we can fix that, but we got to have a secure border. Absolutely. And the cartels alone were crossing our border. Every community in this country got dangerous because of that open border for 4 years. So after President Trump's term, we need to ensure that that border stays closed. And we have the right immigration program. And we keep the drugs and the human trafficking and the cartels out of our country.
But you've still got a few seconds. Yeah. So the question about ICE, though, double down on what ICE is doing or any reforms you support?
I support ICE, absolutely. Okay. I support ICE. They're our law enforcement, and they're putting their lives at stake every day out there, just like any other law enforcement. So 100% I back the blue. I back our law enforcement.
All right, Mr. Trobough, I'd love to get your response on this. And also in your response, we'll give you 2 minutes. What role should legal immigration reform play alongside border enforcement? How do you balance those two?
Yeah, so first off, thank you for the question. And I would highlight that of the three of us up here, I'm the one candidate who holds the Arizona Police Association's endorsement, the Deputies Association endorsement, and the Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. And that is because I am a law enforcement candidate who backs the blue. And that is my background, having been a defense CEO and having built software and technology for the men and women in blue. When it comes to the border, I am for what happened, meaning that we had to shut down the border, but it can't be shut down forever. I actually believe we need to address operationally what's happening. We should look at Tucson and the smart wall, and we should look at how it is we use technology to enable a smarter border so that we can free up resources to pursue other things. But we also need smart immigration, and in Arizona in particular, we need a seasonal worker program. It drives our economy. As a nation, we need a merit-based immigration program as we reindustrialize and we have skill shortage. There's 12,000 people a month who retire versus 8,000 coming into the workforce. We have got to figure out an immigration policy that's coupled with border security if we're going to keep our nation safe and continually grow our economy.
And Mr. Feely, I saw you kind of shaking your head for a moment there. So same question for you as far as the current strategy being used with the border, and then how do you balance, again, that legal immigration with security?
Well, I think it's really important to be honest with the American people when we have this conversation. And I don't think most of the conversations are honest, because there's a lot of hypocrisy that exists. When I listened to the Democrats, when they did their debate, they all said we need secure borders. But they didn't secure the border. They had 4 years where they willingly allowed the border to be open. They wanted illegals to come across for political gain. They put the protection of Americans behind what they were doing for illegals, for political gain. And you look at the Obama administration. they had 3 million deportations, 80% without due process. They talk about due process all the time now with President Trump. You can look it up. The ACLU is the only one who wrote articles about it and talked about it. 80% without due process. The Obama administration detained more American citizens as a percentage than the Trump administration has. So there's so many hypocrisies that exist. Where does all the conflict exist then? Where does it derive from? It derives from sanctuary cities. When Obama was in office and ICE, led by the same man, said, hey, there's a violent criminal in jail, we want to come pick him up and we want to deport him. They said, of course, we don't want that person in our country. Come and deport him, and they gave it. Now, in those sanctuary cities, they release them back into the community. They put the community in danger, and they do it for political gain, and then ICE has to go into that community, and they have to find that individual. They have to go into those situations where the conflict exists. And then the Democrat Party is paying for those protesters to go there and to interact with ICE and to try to get a reaction, to try to get something that we saw happen, unfortunately, up in Minnesota. No one wants to see anybody, any American, lose their life interacting with ICE, but we have to be honest. And I'll just add this. When you look at what happened in New York last night, those candidates who are going to be in the House now, they ran on platforms that were abolish ICE, abolish borders, abolish prisons, defund the police. Those are the things that they said. That's what they want to do. We cannot function as a society if we allow that to happen.
Mr. Chaplik, I want to have you follow up on that, and we'll give you 2 minutes for a full answer. But as part of this, and we might have 15, 20 seconds to ask you other gentlemen as well. I really want to get down to what Danielle's question about legal immigration, because there are some young people who were sort of caught in the middle of this, the DACA recipients, who, yes, people will say, well, they crossed illegally, but they crossed illegally because their parents made the decision for them, and a lot of them have only known American life. How do you balance the humane behavior there with coming down hard on criminals, Mr. Chaplik, as you mentioned?
Right. Well, you know, we have a bigger problem over the last 4 years to pile on from the DACA as well. So we've made the situation worse. You know, here in the Capitol, we've passed bills to strengthen our border. We've strengthened bills to declare the cartels a terrorist organization. I mean, we have crime coming across the border. So we have to address that. Now, with DACA, you know, once we clean the house out, because we've had so much in the last 4 years, it's just getting uglier. So we have to, one, make sure that we keep our communities safe, right? The criminals, the violent drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers that are in our country, we need to get them out immediately. They're not making our community safe. We see in the news almost, you know, weekly across this country some incident from an illegal alien. But when you start there and you thin out the criminals, right? And then we can go to the next layer, right? We can look at who's here for, you know, workforce labor. Of course we need that. We need to make sure that we have strong workforce labor. But the criteria is American. We do not want anti-American people in this country. It does not help our country. And so when people come across that border and they're chanting death to America, that's not the person I want working in the fields, and I don't want that person working anywhere in this country. We need to have a merit program, but also keep the workforce labor going strong, because we do have a lot of jobs that they can do, and they want to be here. And let's embrace those people that want to come here and do that. But like, you know, John Trobough said, a merit system. We've thrown the immigration policy out the window. We need to actually rewrite it and go with the workforce labor, deal with DACA as we go through these layers, and then also figure out how to get better people into our country that want to be Americans, that have pride in America.
Mr. Feely, 30 seconds on DACA.
This is personal to me. I think you can be ardently against illegal immigration while still loving immigrants. You know, and we went down to Haiti after the earthquake and started doing programs down there, building homes and churches. And there was a young man who was our translator. And we decided to help him and bring him here legally, got him an education visa, put him into college at Grand Canyon University, and gave him an opportunity. That is the American dream. He never was on welfare. He never took anything, but he took advantage of the opportunity that he had. He got married, he bought a house, and you know, that is what we want to encourage. The legal immigration process needs to be easier, but the illegal immigration process and the border has to be completely secure.
Thank you, Mr. Feely. And Mr. Trobough, 30 seconds for you.
Yeah, you know, as I said earlier, merit-based immigration, particularly to this topic on DACA, it's part of a bigger problem. At the end of the day, we have a labor shortage in this country. We know which industries we need to reindustrialize. We know that we need to develop next generation worker training programs, and we know we need to come up with smart immigration if we are going to fuel our economy and maintain our leadership as the global power of this world.
When you talk about shaping the next decade and the next generation, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, that certainly comes up in conversation. So should Congress be making artificial intelligence a top tier issue? Or should they continue to focus on more traditional issues like what we've talked about here tonight, inflation, border security, things of that nature? Mr. Trobough, I'll start with you on this
Yeah,
one.
and obviously you saw me smiling, given my background and love of this topic. So look, we have led the development of the telecommunications industry for the world. We led the development of the internet. And now we are leading the development of AI. But we need to make sure that we regulate it with a light touch. We have to let it grow. Imagine if we overregulated the internet before we knew what the internet was. When you look at AI, we do need public policy, and we need safety when it comes to our children and our families, and that's very important. And we will continually pass laws as guardrails. But we also saw what happened to the internet when we didn't pass laws. We saw that conservatives were censored because we didn't step in and we didn't speak up against big tech. I, as the one candidate up here who understands how to push back on big tech, also understands how to craft AI policy. And I would encourage my fellow Arizonans, if you want to understand where we could be if we overregulate AI, simply look at Europe. Europe's calling for technical sovereignty and development of their own AI, and they are missing the entire boat. This is a two-boat race between China and the U.S., and we have to win this race just as we won the internet and just as we won telecommunications.
Mr. Feely, your background, as you mentioned, you played in the NFL, you're a broadcaster and working with businesses and such. How does that translate in this realm when it comes to artificial intelligence and really looking to growing the future of that?
Well, you know, I spent time when I was playing on the NFLPA Players Association Executive Committee, negotiating the billion-dollar contracts with the owners, you know, getting to see that side of business and then starting companies on our own. But I think it's really important to note that we don't have a choice whether we win the AI revolution. We will either win the AI revolution that's coming or China will win. And John is exactly right, because the world's economy will be defined by who wins this AI revolution that's coming. The world's security will be defined by who wins this AI revolution that's coming. It's just a choice if we're going to win or they're going to win. And for our children and our grandchildren, we have to make sure that we commit to winning. How do you do that? You produce more energy. Right now, we have 1 terawatt trying to get to 2. China's at 3 terawatts trying to get to 6. They have so many artificial advantages on us in producing energy that we need to make sure that we're creating a framework where we can catch up. We need more computability. We have to have those data storage centers. I know Joe is against the data storage centers here locally. We have to have a bigger picture. We have to understand the fight we're in here nationally with China and understanding we need more energy, we need more computability. We have to continue to have an honest discussion about these data storage centers. You can create them and have them without adding to the cost of the local consumer. They should be investing into the local areas, driving down the cost for the consumer. They should make sure that they're using the recirculated water so that you're not using our precious water, especially here in Arizona, when we're in a situation where we desperately need more water. But they're so important to the future of our economy and our security that we have to have honest conversations. Where does most of the negative reaction to data storage centers come from? From China, from Singham, a billionaire in China. And if you don't stand up and have honest conversations, then Americans are going to allow the Chinese information that they're spewing into our social media to impact our economic future and the security of this country.
Mr. Chaplik, I'd like to give you a chance to respond to that comment,
Thank
your
you.
thoughts on data centers, and then also this subject of AI.
Well, Jay's wrong there. I'm not against the data centers here in the district. The constituents of this district are against data centers in this CD1. We have plenty of land to build data centers. Yes, we need data centers. I'm for data centers. But let's not overbuild them, and let's put them in the parts of the country where they're not in infill locations around the city. I know this district. I live here. I've represented it for 6 years. The people in this district do not want data centers right next to their homes. We have plenty of land to build it. But more importantly, on the AI issue, yeah, I agree. We need to win that race. But we've got to be careful with how AI is used. Right now, the AI is being generated with avatars and impersonations, and it's stealing our identity. I mean, my opponent put a sign up through his shady PAC out of D.C. that has a picture of me from AI. People, no, hold on. Yeah, it is true.
You absolutely
that is
don't
not
Hang on, please let him finish.
Jay,
Mr. Feely, please let him finish. Thank you.
That is not a photo of me. That is an AI-generated image from a PAC that he supports. And so that's where we get dangerous, because people can't tell the difference. That's identity theft, and it's showing a false positive on who we are, because that is a picture of me, but it's not me, with a shirt on and everything else. So again, that's shady business. The AI needs to be pulled back with some guardrails for those purposes, because anybody in our state could be attacked through AI, where they can own you, they can have your identity, and that's not right. So there's two versions of AI, right? We need it for winning the race, we need it for military, we need it for knowledge and data, but we have to be extremely careful on how it's used on individuals.
Mr. Feely, you want 30 seconds on this?
I do, because I think it's disingenuous, and he's just lying. Joe knows that PAC has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with my campaign, in no way. In fact, the people that have endorsed his campaign, those members of the Scottsdale City Council, have called out the company that they believe is behind the PAC that he went head-to-head with in the House. So don't stand up here and lie to the people of Arizona. You know that that's not true.
Absolutely not. That's a joke.
Okay, Mr. Trobough, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and that's
I'd like
it.
to jump in on the data center topic because it's one that's also near and dear to my heart, having worked in tech for so many years. First and foremost, one of the things I talk to my fellow Arizonans about is that we are the gateway to the global economy. The advanced AI chipsets in the world are flowing through Arizona, and data centers will naturally follow. And then what will follow after that is the ecosystem development of next generation jobs. Every 1 to 2 gigawatt data center that is built generates $100 to $200 million of local tax revenue. Mr. Feely is correct that there is a lot of misinformation fueled by the CCP around data centers, and we need to be sensitive to that. But we need data centers as we need economic growth in Arizona.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Chaplik brought up the idea of campaign signs and whether it's AI. I'm going to pivot a little bit, Mr. Feely. Second Amendment, very important issue to Republican voters in this district and across the country. So there was a sign I saw in North Scottsdale just the other day. I can't remember the exact thing. I should have taken a photo of it, but it basically said, Jay Feely's going to take your guns.
Yeah.
So let's do a minute on Second Amendment.
Sure. Well, I think it's kind of funny because about 10 years ago, I went viral for a post that I put out trying to have fun with my daughter, her date to prom, and a gun that I had. She called me up like midnight and said, "Dad, you're number one trending Twitter in the world right now." I'm like a lot of people, though, who didn't grow up with guns and whose views on guns have changed over time. And Joe Chaplik continues to put out things from 10, 20 years ago that I posted on Twitter that were when I was playing in New York. And when I got here to Arizona and I started shooting guns with friends and wanted to buy my first gun for home defense, and then really where it was solidified, the need to have the Second Amendment and have it be unencumbered, was during BLM riots and during COVID, because we saw the way that the government was willing to overreach and to take away your civil liberties. And I stood with the people in my neighborhood, because our neighborhood was on this list that they were going to attack next. And so we stood in defense of our homes and walked around our development with our guns to make sure that our homes didn't get attacked.
That's a minute.
All right, let's go back real quick. We were talking about data centers. Another issue that comes up with that is water. Of course, that's already been mentioned up here. And so when we talk about the immense amounts of water that these centers use, and of course here in Arizona, there's uncertainty surrounding our water supply. And so, Mr. Chaplik, I'll start with you. What is the single most important thing that Congress can do to ensure that Arizona has enough water for future generations?
So the water issue is real, and the Colorado River is low, and the lower basin states are pulling water from it. And I have legislation that I helped Rio Verde with a standpipe issue, so we've dealt with this already in the local level with getting water to Rio Verde. But when you have a pact with the other states, and if we can't negotiate with the states, which we can't here in Arizona, we don't have the leadership to negotiate, the federal government's going to come in. They're going to take 77% of Arizona's water. Okay, we cannot let that happen. David Schweikert has a bill, H.R. 7078, that when there's cuts in the Colorado River water to be shared amongst the states, we get a proportionate cut, not a 77% cut, which is unfair to Arizona. So that's the first thing we got to continue to fight for in the federal level. Make sure that when there are cuts, they're proportionate with the other states. The second thing is, we got to stop California from dumping fresh water after they fill their few reservoirs that they have into the ocean. I mean, they're not even filling up their fire hydrants in their communities. They're wasting water, and that water could be brought over to Arizona. So, when we're looking at really conserving water, and I am, endorsed by a water conservation board member here in the state, these are real issues. And when California, again, is wasting their water because of their Democrat policies, we need to make sure that that Colorado River water is not being wasted into California. And so we need to continue to drive for that. And again, I have the experience in the legislative, state here to help water already. But that 100-year aqueduct, we need to keep full. And we need to make sure that our lake levels stay, adequate. And most of this comes out of where the Colorado River comes from. So once again, California's dumping water. We need to stop that. And we need to look at every possible solution on top of that as well.
Mr. Trobough, you mentioned the economic impact of those data centers. How do you balance that with the impact on natural resources?
Yeah, and again, this is where there's a lot of misinformation. So let's just step back and first frame the question on water. First and foremost, water for Arizona is not framed properly within Washington, D.C. This is a national security issue. You cannot ask us to be the epicenter and the gateway to the global economy and then turn around and not give us the water that we need to grow our economy and to fuel our neighborhoods and our community. So that's first point. It's not framed properly because we have a choice and we have an opportunity. We can be the global gateway to the global economy for the world, or we can be the bachelorette party capital of the world. I actually prefer the latter. Second, Mr. Chaplik is correct. I've been promoting this for quite a while as we've been through some of our different discussions with Congressman Schweikert's bill. This needs to happen, and I promise when I get to Congress, I will push this and I will make the national security arguments. But I would also call on other Arizona congressional leaders to stand up, Democrat or Republican, get behind the bill that is best for our community, get behind what we need as Arizonans. And finally, on the data centers, this is, again, misinformation. Little fact for everybody. All the data centers combined in Arizona use 10% of the amount of water that we use to water all of our golf courses. So which would we like? Would we like a $200 million revenue base, or do we want to play golf? Personally, I'd like to have both, but I think it's also a misrepresentation that we don't continually use the same reclaimed water in these data centers. And just like power, it doesn't drain on the power either. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
And Mr. Feely, your plans and priorities when it comes to water and securing the future, not just here in Arizona, but really, as it's been set up here, a national security issue as well.
Well, John, I do like to play golf. we got to keep our golf courses as well. But if you look at the upper basin, when there's cuts to be made, they don't make cuts. They force the lower basin, us, to make those cuts. What we needed was a governor who took action and created leverage. And she didn't do that. For 4 years, she did nothing. She basically came at the end and said, you know, like Oliver Twist, more please, and held her cup out, and they're not going to do anything. And so we had a lack of leadership that tried to create or didn't take advantage of creating leverage to create a better situation for this state. When you look at who will suffer the most from this water shortage, it's going to be down in Yuma. It's going to be in southern Arizona, where 90% of the leafy vegetables for our entire country come from. These are the ramifications of not having a solid plan when it comes to water. We need every opportunity, like both of these gentlemen said, we need desalinization plants to get them up and running and to create opportunity for us. But I will say this, I think this is where me going to Congress is going to have a positive impact on this district and on Arizona. Because what do we do then if we don't have a governor who creates leverage? How do we get a better deal for Arizona? Where you go to the President of the United States and you say, you know what, you need to help us because it's so important for this state and for our economy and for the vegetables, the leafy vegetables for the entire country, and get him to engage. Who can call him and who can get him to answer? That's me. He will take my call. He will listen. I have the ability to have the ear of the president and to be able to, in situations like this, when we need his help, to go to him and to get that help.
Gentlemen, we're very, very close to the speed round, so it's going to be a very one-word answer as close as we can get. Mr. Trobough, if you were not to win this nomination, would you support either of these other gentlemen in the general?
Yes, I support the Republican Party.
Mr. Feely?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chaplik?
Yes, I'm a true Republican.
Okay.
All right. Well, we are now going to shift into the speed round. So again, the candidates have been given these questions ahead of time and have just 15 seconds to answer each one. And so we'll start with you. We'll just kind of go down the row. First question, what is your most important issue on day one?
Well, day one, first important issue is balancing that budget in D.C. Our country is $2 trillion in debt every budget cycle. We need to cut that waste, fraud, and abuse and stop the overspending. We have a spending problem, and we need to stop that immediately. Balance the budget amendment.
All right, Mr. Feely.
The most important issue is to make sure that we have secure borders. Right now, everything that President Trump did to secure our border could be undone by a presidential declaration, by executive order. And we need to make sure that that's codified into law so that we protect Arizonans, we protect people here in this entire country, because Democrats will continue to open borders if they get the opportunity.
And Mr. Trobough.
Yeah, you know, border security and affordability. We need to keep the borders closed, and we need to address our debt. As I've said before, and I'll say it a third time tonight, we are facing a financial crisis, and we need to address this for future generations.
Mr. Chaplik, 15 seconds on this one. What is a win for this district you believe only you can secure?
Well, winning the election. I'm the only one with a proven record, proven flawless voting record for this district. I've represented the district well, and I've been serving for 6 years in this district. So, again, winning that election will actually help this district.
Mr. Feely.
The most important thing is making sure we keep the House and making sure that we can codify what President Trump and his administration have tried to do. It's why the president reached out to me. It's why he endorsed my campaign. It's why Speaker Johnson and the rest of Republican leadership reached out to me and said, we need you in this district because we need to make sure it stays a Republican seat.
Okay, Mr. Trobough, 15 seconds.
Yeah, turning national and global innovation into innovation for Arizona, driving our economy, protecting our water, and protecting Arizonans' tax dollars. I'm the one candidate on this stage who understands the global economy, the national economy, and what it means to Arizona.
Okay, next question, Mr. Chaplik. How will you balance the demanding schedule in D.C. with being present and accessible to the people in your district?
Well, I've already served 6 years down at the Capitol. This is no different, right? Sure, we have to fly to D.C., but if I'm not needed in D.C., I'm right back here in the district where I live. I'll have a district office. I do plenty of events around this district so people can come, and our office is open. So no different. If I'm not needed in D.C., I'm right here in this district.
Mr. Feely.
Well, the best thing about running for office has been meeting everybody, getting out and seeing people, knocking on doors, hearing what your concerns are. And I will hold town halls and talk and communicate because I'm much like Charlie Kirk. Like, I think it's important to talk to people that you completely disagree with. You can disagree with them, but do it in a respectful manner. And I certainly will do that here in the district.
And Mr. Trobough.
Yeah, look, as a global executive, you know, I'm used to traveling 30 hours just to get to one meeting. So traveling 3 hours to D.C. is not the challenge. But getting back and spending time in this constituents is what's most important, and being honest and sharing what's really happening in Washington, D.C. and what we can and can't affect.
Mr. Chaplik, I get the fun one. What do you love most about Arizona?
Well, my wife and I moved here 17 years ago. We picked Arizona for many reasons. And, you know, we all know about the 5 C's. I like the 6th C, constituents, the people that I've represented that I can help and make their quality of life better. And that's the 6th C, constituents.
Mr. Feely, 15 seconds.
Yeah, I love the independent bent that Arizonans have. And I love the mountains. You know, Camelback Mountain is probably one of my favorite places in all of Arizona to go. And just love looking at that mountain and playing golf right there, looking up at the mountain as well.
As long as there's water. 15 seconds, Mr. Trobough.
Yeah, for me, it's very personal. It's brought my family, both my immediate and my extended family, together. My wife has over 45 first cousins, many of them from the Northwest, or many of them from the Midwest, Iowa, Nebraska, living here in Arizona. There's never a shortage of family time, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you to all of the candidates here tonight. It is now time for closing statements. And so each of you will have 1 minute, and we ask that you stick to that minute so we don't have to cut you off if you run over. So Joseph Chaplik, you have the first closing statement, 1 minute.
Well, thank you. I'm running in this race because when David Schweikert opened the seat up and not going back to D.C., so many constituents called me and said, how come you're not in this race? We need you. You're a conservative fighter. You have a spine, and we need you to champion this congressional district. And so I've done that. And now, if you want to fix D.C., we need to send better people to Congress, better people with merit, better people that are actually going to serve the constituents and do what's right. If we're upset with a low approval rating in Congress, let's get better people elected. That's what I've done for 6 years here in the state. That's what I'll continue to do at the national level. And as far as endorsements, over 100 endorsements of people here in the district that want me to be their next congressman. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
And Mr. Trobough, 1 minute for your closing statement.
Yeah, first off, thank you. It's a pleasure to share the stage with my fellow Republicans, and I'm honored to be a congressional candidate as we approach the 250th anniversary of this nation. I've never been prouder to be an American, and I want to say that as we move forward here. But I will tell you that this election is important. There are 200,000 Republicans, 175,000 independents, and 150,000 Democrats. I am the one candidate on this stage who is a common sense, traditional fiscal conservative who understands how to reach across and how to share those points of view with my fellow independents, or the independents, you should say, and as well as Republicans, and how we win this seat, and how we make sure that President Trump does not get impeached, and that we make sure that we put forward policies that address our debt and save this nation.
And Thomas J. Feely IV, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
Well, first, John, it's been a pleasure getting to know you on the campaign trail. I think you are somebody who has a heart for service, and you're doing it for the right reasons. And Joe, I appreciate your service in the State House and what you've done serving this district in this state. The Republicans up here, we want the best for this state. And for me, I want to make sure that we effectuate change. When Charlie Kirk was killed, my wife and I were at the White House. And as we were walking out, we found out, and we were gutted like most of America. And we laid in bed that night, and she said, "Jay, are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "I have more resolve now than I ever have. Like, I know God has put me in this place at this time for this reason." When the President of the United States reaches out to you and says, "Will you run in this district?" You do it. You step up and you say, "Absolutely. I'll give up a broadcasting job. I'll run in this district to make sure that we keep this a Republican seat." I was honored to have President Trump's endorsement. I was honored to have the endorsement of Speaker Johnson and the rest of Republican leadership. I'll be honored to have your vote and make sure that we keep this a Republican seat. Thank you so much. God bless.
Gentlemen, thanks for the discussion tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this wraps this primary debate with the Republican candidates for Arizona's Congressional District 1. As a reminder, the Arizona primary election is on July 21st, and early voting started today, June 24th. All registered voters can participate in the primary, including independents.
There are a lot of offices up for election this year, so we will keep hosting debates all through the fall. You can head to azmedia.org to see a list of every local media partner, plus upcoming debates and where you can find them on TV, radio, and digital platforms.
And you can also see the full debate schedule, learn more about clean elections, and submit questions for future debates by heading to azcleanelections.gov. Now, on behalf of our partners at Clean Elections, the Arizona Media Association, Reister, and Sneaky Big Studios, thanks for joining us.